In the words of past President Jazz, we're going to be respectful of folks' time. We'd like to start on time, but it's okay. It was a technical difficulty because we didn't start at 5:30. So we're going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. For those who don't know me, but I think everybody does, my name is Deborah Smith, and I'm the Director for the Department of Economic and Community Development. We have here today with us Bill Wazaleski, who is from M&L. M&L is our consultants, and they will be preparing our 5-year consolidated plan, which is 2025 to 2029, as well as our fiscal year 2025 annual plan. And so,
yeah, so thank you for having me today, and really appreciate taking time to listen to our presentation here. I have a brief PowerPoint just to kind of bring you up to speed as to what's been done to date and what we're generally planning to do. The idea is for you to consider it, and we'll get into the reasons why, but really it's to get your consent and approval once the plan comes off the display so that we can submit it to HUD for review and approval. So just to quickly provide a PowerPoint presentation here. So the consolidated plan, and many of you may already know what this is, it's a consolidated plan and the annual action plan process. So the city, as a result of being a HUD entitlement community for CDBG, home, and ESG, is required to update its 5-year consolidated plan once every 5 years, and we're in that cycle right now. And so when we prepare your annual action plan, we do a number of different things. We do a brief housing market analysis, not a full housing market analysis, but really based on census data update as provided by HUD. Basically, it's an updated census data from the last 5 years. We do a housing and homeless needs assessment, and there's very specific data pieces that we have to incorporate into the document from HUD that's updated from the past 5 years. And really the key document is the strategic plan, and we'll get into what the draft strategic plan is going to include. The way we come about this is not just with data, we also use stakeholder consultations. So in January, last week of January I think it was? January 28th. Yeah, we had a series, I think 5 or 6 sessions based on various topics from housing and community development, economic development, and homelessness to elicit input from various stakeholders across the community. We also had a makeup session which was virtual in which we gave people another opportunity to provide input as well. So the idea, we also had a survey, and I'll get into the survey results for the general public. We also had a public hearing as well in that first week of January to elicit public input on this document. And so taken all together, the stakeholder participation information that we received, the housing market analysis and housing needs assessment, that helped us to basically develop your strategic plan for the next 5 years for 2025 to 2029. And we worked closely with Deb, and Veronica, and Mayor in terms of putting what those priorities would be. And that's critical. The strategic plan is really important because in order for the city to be able to fund CDBG, home, and ESG activities for the next 5 years, it has to meet one of those high priority needs identified in the strategic plan. And so we'll go through what those are. And it's very similar to what we had last five years because the needs really haven't changed. If anything, they've gotten worse over the last 5 years. And then finally, the annual action plan. And the annual action plan is your fiscal year 2025 plan that we have to submit to HUD that basically provides an overview of the activities that you're going to allocate your federal resources for moving into 2025. So just to provide an overview, as I said, we had stakeholder consultations, and you can see there the list of folks that we have consulted with throughout the process. We met with the Housing Authority, the Redevelopment Authority, your continuum of care to get input on the priorities for your homelessness population, and housing and homeless needs assessment helped inform that. Various shelter and service providers for homeless individuals. We met with affordable housing providers and advocates. And we also talked with Small Business Development Center, neighborhood groups. We'll talk a little bit about the online survey that we had. And something unique and something new that we didn't do last time around, but we also had a separate survey for persons with lived experience who are formerly homeless. So we worked with your shelter providers to get them to provide a survey, a very prescribed survey for persons who are currently homeless or were recently homeless, and they provide a really good input to help us, again, develop strategic priorities for your strategic plan as it relates to homelessness. And again, we had 2 public needs meetings as well. So just to provide just a brief overview of the needs identified by data and stakeholders. So in 2024, your point-in-time survey, so that is of a count of your homeless population, identified 378 homeless individuals in emergency shelters and 76 unsheltered individuals. 30% of the households in the area experienced cost burden, meaning they paid more than 30% of their income towards housing costs. Inventory of affordable, accessible units is insufficient to meet the needs of the city residents. Length of stay in emergency shelters are increasing, and those persons with lived experience identified shelter capacity as a need. There's just not enough shelters in the city to address the need. We also identified barriers to obtaining housing, including lack of inventory, criminal history, poor rental history, financial resources for rental application fees, security, utility deposits, arrear payments are all needs as identified by persons who are homeless and as well as the stakeholders. And then subpopulations with increased needs include the elderly, youth, chronic homelessness, and large families. As I said, we conducted a survey that was open to the general public that ran for over a month in January and early February. We had a total of 228 responses. Of the 228 responses, 149 responses to the question asking them to prioritize the list of housing activities. Housing for families with children was the highest. So housing for families and children was the highest. 151 responses to the question asking them to rank the list of economic development initiatives, job creation, retention. Both of those were at the top, followed by workforce development and employment programs were identified as needs. 150 responses to the question asking them to rank special needs and services. Those included such things as mental health services, early childhood education needs, and healthcare services. 148 responses to the question asking them to rank a list of public infrastructure initiatives. In that, the highest priority was shown road improvement and reconstruction was the highest identified response there. And then affordable housing was most often cited as a priority, followed by economic and workforce development, including training and job creation. So based on the data that we received from the actual hard data, census data, the point-in-time survey, the surveys, we've identified the following strategic plan goals for the next 5 years to address those identified high priority needs. And this is, again, as I stated, these would be your highest priority needs, which you would focus your federal resources on funding activities to address these needs over the next 5 years. They include, as you can see, provide homeowner rehabilitation assistance, rental rehabilitation assistance, the creation of new affordable rental housing, increasing homeownership, provide homelessness for housing and services related to homelessness, improve public infrastructure and facilities, continuing to provide public services. That need has grown over the last 5 years, and I know you provide a portion of your CDBG funds towards public services. Same thing with code enforcement, real need to identify and improve code enforcement and making sure units are, especially as it relates to affordable housing. Demolition of dilapidated structures, economic development, and the revitalization of the central business district. Again, those are the strategic plan goals, very similar to what was 5 years ago in terms of what you identified 5 years ago. I would just say that these needs have been increased over the last 5 years as a result of a number of different things, including mainly the pandemic. Just a little word on the 2025 anticipated funding. So if you've not been following the news, I'm sure you have, but there's been a continuing resolution through 2025, through September 30th, 2025, basically keeping funding levels at 2024 levels. That occurred, I think Congress approved that in March 14th. As a result, HUD now has 60 days to provide your allocation amounts. We anticipate them to be very similar to last year, although we have no firm confirmation of that. We know the overall federal budget is staying exactly the same. And we have heard indications that the funding under CDBG Home and ESG will be the same as last year, but again, HUD has 60 days to get your allocation amounts out to you. And so that would be early June by the time you would get those, early to mid-June that you would get those allocation amounts. We're budgeting and planning as if you will receive the same exact amount as you did in 2024. And as you can see, CDBG would be a little bit over 2.8 million. Your home ones would be about 764,000, and ESG would be 267,000. Did you want to go over the proposed projects?
Sure.
So this is just a bit overview of the specific broad range activities, but I don't know, Deborah, if you wanted to go through that a little bit more and kind of go through specific proposed activities that you're thinking about doing.
All right, so the first sheet that has the 2025 proposed CDBG funding, it actually goes back to fiscal 2021, where there were requests and what we actually allocated to a lot of the different agencies. And so if you would look at fiscal year 2025, I'm on this long sheet right here, this one right here, the long one. There are requests that were made, and then we have a proposed number. And so as Bill mentioned, the available funds at the top are, we're looking at what we got last year. We're looking at program income of $5,000, and then we have some reprogramming that of $18,417.60. And so we're proposing for curb cuts, $350,000, tree removal and planting, $20,000, street improvement, which is road construction, $690,621.82, park and playground improvements, $50,000, DECD admin, $571,063. There is that curb cut streets for the RAPI grant, the match, the streetscape that is on State Street, $91,343, for a total of $1,773,027.82. Are there questions on the city's proposal?
Is there, like, where it's like laid, is it possible for us to get a copy of the updated one too? But is it laid out just like where these will actually be? Sorry, I do this every time.
So the first column,
Well, like when you're gonna, with the strategic plan, like, so if we're gonna do the tree removal and replanting, like literally like where are the curb cuts and those, yeah, just like, do we have that laid out, or is that
we don't have it right now.
Okay.
They actually have to give us a list, and we have to approve that list.
Does it all qualified census tracts though, right?
Pretty much the CD impact area, which is 26th Street, north of 26th Street, to the Bayfront, and over to, I think it's Cranberry. But those areas, and then there may be some block groups that may not be eligible. So we actually have to actually look and see what streets they're proposing. We have to actually check to make sure that they are actually eligible to be paid with by CDBG funds.
So,
Is that mic on there? This mic, is that on?
yeah.
Yeah.
So just as like a heads up, like as one of those things that I got to learn like on the second year is that we end up using liquid fuels for the other neighborhoods, and then the CBDG for the more impoverished neighborhoods.
So it's like census tract?
Yeah.
Census, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so the next category is the housing programs. And so DECD actually has a housing rehabilitation program where we use CDBG funds for furnaces, roofs, just small things that homeowners may need. That way, if a homeowner needs a roof or a furnace or something like that, we don't have to worry about the lead rule going into effect. And so we're looking at projects that may be $12,000, up to $12,000. I'm not real sure how much roofs cost, but that is what the City of Erie Housing Rehabilitation is, that line item, the $125,000 that we're proposing. The Redevelopment Authority of the City of Erie, the $96,000 is a match for a lead grant that they received. And so we're matching that for the next, I believe it's 3 years. I don't know if it's 3 or 4 years. 3 or 4
I'm not
weeks?
sure, I believe it's 3.
Okay. Are there questions on the housing program?
No, I just want to make a comment. So the City of Erie Housing Rehabilitation Funds, those are the ones that go up, and you guys put up the applications that people have to submit all the information from homeowners. And then if they don't use that, that comes back to us to do curves and pave. I just want to make sure, because I know like in the past, we haven't really used a lot of these funds that we allocate with our.
So what happens is that if there is a project and they don't use all the funding, we have reprogramming dollars, and we have some reprogramming dollars that we're looking to expend for street reconstruction, but that's just proposed. So any money, it doesn't necessarily have to go back to street reconstruction, but for public services, we're only allowed to use 20.96%, and that has to be, even if it's reprogramming, that's the most amount that we're allowed to use, or $778,960. That's the max.
When you say it's what you're allowed to use, what do you, I'm sorry,
There is a,
There's a cap on
right.
within specific categories?
Yes.
Okay.
And also worth pointing out that we are beyond the federal cap, that we have like a grandfather exception beyond
Right.
the cap.
For
So
everyone
we're higher
else,
than
it's
ever.
15%.
Right.
So we get a higher amount than that. Okay, the next page is actually the public service activities, and City of Erie Summer Rec, we normally allocate $10,000 to that line item. That is used for the Roger Young Pool, for chlorine and different operating supplies that they may use. JFK this year, they did not request any summer rec. So
Wow.
it's 0 there. Booker T, $24,850. MOK, we have $10,000. Trinity Center, we have $20,000. Boys and Girls Club, $50,000. Excuse me, BTW Human Resources, $72,341. I guess I'll just say this. So what we did, because we don't know how much money we're getting, we looked at what was requested from last year. And so what we tried to do is to give those agencies what they requested last year, even though some of them may have requested more money. We also looked at if that agency expended those dollars that they requested and received last year, and if they didn't, we may have lowered that a little bit. But what we did try to give everyone that requested something what they received last year. MOK, Human Resources, $50,000. JFK, $50,000. So GCAC in-house services, this year we actually increased it. For many years, they were using it as a match, but there is a big need for in-home services, and so we thought that we would give them some additional money so some of those people could actually come off the waiting list. Trinity Center, $35,000. This year, USCRC, which is Erie International House, did not request any funding. St. Martin Center, we have them down for $40,000. UECDC, $55,000. UECDC, their summer rec program, which is a training program for youth, $49,355. The YMCA Y Teen Center, $50,000. This year we received an application from Youth Leadership Institute, and we are looking to allocate $10,000. The Erie City Mission Human Resources, we have them down for $40,000, but we are actually waiting for additional information on that because their program actually kind of changed, so we have to actually see if their program will be eligible this year. Erie Focus is 0. YMCA Erie County Reentry, $43,880. The Police PALS Lead, $21,109. Sisters of St. Joseph, $10,000. This year we received a request from, that City of Erie, Love Your Block, $35,000. The Daft Mark Dance Theater, they have a summer rec program and a human resources program, so we look to allocate $10,000 to both of those programs. Nurturing Hearts Human Resources, $5,000. There was a new request for Meals on Wheels, and we did find out that we are able to provide meals for seniors, and so we're looking to allocate $30,000 for that program. And so the public service total request is $769,789.24. And as I mentioned before, the max that we can take would be 20.96, which is less than the 769, 789, or, so the $778,960 is actually a larger allocation. Are there questions on the public service?
JFK didn't ask for anything.
No.
Did anybody follow up? Did they miss the deadline?
No, they came in for the presentation. We did ask them about their
I'm
summer
sorry.
rec program. They came in at the presentation and they said they did not want summer rec money because I believe they have maybe Century 21 money or some other kind of grant funding.
Okay.
So they said they didn't need it.
Okay.
They're getting the human resources funding. They just didn't ask for some.
Yeah.
I didn't hear her.
They got human resource money, but they didn't ask for the summer rec, so they must have got
Okay.
that pot somewhere else.
Just want to make sure.
All right. The next line would be economic development activities. Gannon University, SBGC, $54,918. The Christian Ministries, that is now the Community Cornerstone, their hub that they have, $60,000. We had a request from Upwards Care, which is out of California, and they were requesting funding for assistance to help daycare providers and home ones, but their program actually, we weren't real sure what they were actually trying to do with that program, so we didn't give them any funding for that. And so those are all of the funding requests there, and so the total comes up to the $2,878,735.06 for CDBG. And
May I
as I'm-
ask why Manus Enterprises was turned down?
Pardon me?
Manus Enterprises?
They did Manus is, they asked for $100,000, and they asked for sidewalks and different things. For nonprofits, it is very hard for us to give funding to, especially when it's a gas station. But then also there was the question that came up as far as when you get economic development funding, you have to retain or create jobs, and they were not sure if they could do that. And so that is actually a HUD requirement, and so
Thank you. I
we
just
couldn't
know
give them that.
found good people. Thank you.
And then I also want to say we have neighborhood watch groups have requested sidewalks for their neighborhoods and different things like that. And so we haven't been able to do that as well. And we did ask Manus Enterprise as far as would they be able to retain or create jobs, and they were not sure about that. So if they can't retain or create jobs, then they would have to pay that funding back.
Thank you.
Is this list on this page just a continuation of another list? I mean, the only reason I ask, so like when we see the proposed, sorry. Is this a continuation of a section?
So that's actually the economic development.
Economic development,
Okay.
yeah.
There's just a huge difference in what was requested in economic development last year versus this year.
So last year, we did the 1001 State Street
Yeah.
Renaissance Building, and that was actually a big ask that they asked for.
Okay.
So yes, there's a big difference. Are there questions on the economic development?
I sat in with, when we interviewed Manus, and one of the difficulties they expressed is maintaining employees. It's just a heck of a turnover. And I don't know if we consider new employee,
So actually.
one
this-
quit, then they hired another one. That's not additional positions. They just
So
fill
it's
in what they
actually-
have.
Right, so it's actually retaining employees or creating new jobs for employees. And they were not, they said they had a hard time just retaining them.
Yeah.
So For CDBG, for economic development, you have to create, there's job creation. For every $35,000, you have to create a job.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so the next one we'll go to will be the Home Investment Partnership. This sheet right here, the small sheet, the 8.5 by 11. So last year, we only received $764,318. And so we received proposals from Hands, Eastside Renaissance, and Erie's Black Wall Street. So Hands is actually proposing for Boston Store to do rehabilitation for, is it 77 units? Additional
77 home assisted units.
Right, well, rental units. They're gonna go in and they're gonna rehab those units. We are actually waiting for HUD, because we had actually put some home funding in there for some other things, for a few of the apartments that they had before. And so we're waiting for additional information, as well as we may have to request a waiver to see if that funding would even be eligible.
How many apartments does the Boston store have, do you know?
Is it a,
It's over 100, I believe.
Yeah.
So currently, with the prior year home money, we were in for 15
Okay.
home assisted units. With this, they're proposing to add 77 more. So,
home assistant?
bring it up to over 90 units.
In the Eastside Renaissance Rental Rehab, there is a property, I believe it's on East Sixth Street, that they are looking to rehab and use as a rental for individuals or families who want to rent. It's a large single-family home, and so hopefully it will be of assistance to a large family. And so they requested that money for rental rehab. We received Erie's Black
How
Wall
many
Street.
homes have they been able to rehab so far? The Erie Eastside Renaissance rental rehab. I know this is a new organization, maybe 2-3 years old.
Yeah, I believe they are looking to do 9.
Okay. So they haven't done any yet. They're just looking.
In the process of it, so. And with our funding, we'll have to go through environmental review and all that
And
other
it just came
stuff.
through the Erie Land Bank as well.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so there's like a lot of property acquisition right now and getting investors. So I think that they're just using to figure out how they can get it to build with the maximum. So I think they're trying to also get some of the properties that have been vacant, not being built upon, and now they're going to be pulled from the land bank, essentially back on the tax rolls to some degree, which is exciting.
So Erie's Wall Black Street submitted an application for homeowner in rehab. They actually withdrew their application, so.
Okay.
And just for clarity, when it's not 77 more or new units, it's they're
No,
updating.
They're just
Okay.
updating, renovating them to
Okay.
update them. And so for city of admin, we actually took whatever the balance was. We're allowed to take 10%, and so we took $64,318. And so for all of our program, we're allowed to do 10% for admin, 5% for total operating, and we have to set aside 15% for total set aside. And Hands is actually our only total that we have in the city of Erie. Are there questions on the Home Investment Partnership Program? All right, so the next sheet is actually Emergency Solutions. These numbers are actually the same numbers that we used last year, the year that we're currently in right now, because our funding is actually based on actual bed nights that the shelters use. And so there's a formula that we use, and so because there's a formula, we just use what we used last year until we actually get our funding. And so these numbers will actually change. Are there questions on this? And so for rapid rehousing, which is housing that is for homeless people who may be in the shelters or who may have lost their housing, we have to actually allocate 32.5% of whatever our allocation is for that. And the rapid housing offers first month's rent security deposit, and you could get up to a total of 3 months of rental assistance.
How's that program looked at? Are folks grabbing it or
It's,
leaving after 3 months? Or hard to say.
it's kind of hard. I mean,
No, you got to give them a chance. That's the bottom line.
so that's, are there any questions on the emergency solutions?
The rapid rehousing, is that administered to these specific shelters, or is that done by the city?
So actually, we have two service providers. We have GCAC that
Okay.
does one, and St. Martin Center
Okay.
does the other.
I'm not too familiar with the programs, but I did know that they were available. It's just sometimes, I spend a lot of time at the library, and you see a lot of the unsheltered, unhoused community members, and they ask questions, but you only know so much, so it's nice to know where the rapid rehousing funds are available for them.
And so anyone who, I guess, wants to get assistance from that program, they have to actually call 814-SHELTER
And get a
to get a
referral.
referral.
And then they end up going through Erie County Care Management, which then refers them to one of those two agencies. So you have to kind of
Right.
carry them through a couple different steps there if you want to take them from start to finish.
All right, that's all I have. I just want to mention that I had mentioned about rehab and reprogramming dollars, which come from various years of $194,367.85. We are looking to put that money in street reconstruction, road construction. Question?
Well, I'm sorry, can you repeat that number? That's different than what was,
So if you look on your sheet,
yeah.
and if you look in the proposed request line,
Yeah.
you'll see reprogramming estimate, and the 194
Gotcha.
is
Okay.
here.
All right,
Okay.
thanks.
Any other questions? I just have a few more slides. We okay to move on?
Any other questions?
Nope.
None?
You just
I just have a couple more
more.
slides. Okay. In addition, we're also updating your analysis of impediments to fair housing. And so just to provide, we have a specific timeline for the consolidated plan and the annual action plan, so that took priority. But we just wanted to provide an update. We've completed the demographic and housing profile, and we're also currently completed the review of the public policy. Those are two key pieces. We'll have to, we're in the process of identifying impediments and developing a fair housing action plan. The connection to the AI is that the Fair Housing Action Plan becomes a section of your consolidated plan, and we work to address any identified impediments. So there's no specific timeline on that other than making sure we get that Fair Housing Action Plan in your consolidated plan, but that should be wrapping up shortly as well, and so we can provide updates on that as well. We just want to let you know that we're also doing the analysis of impediments to fair housing. And again, HUD encourages communities to update that once every 5 years. And then finally, just kind of going through the next steps, we're finalizing the draft CP and AP. We're required to put both of these documents on what we call public display for a period of 30 days. And so we're anticipating putting it on public display on April 11th, assuming you're all okay with us, with our priorities and our strategic plan. And then we're also required, while it's on public display, to have what we call a second public meeting to let the public comment on the draft plans, consolidated plan and annual action plan. And we currently anticipate that being May 5th. And then finally, we would come back to you all anticipated end of May 21st at this point. Again, that's contingent on when HUD releases the allocation amounts. We cannot, you cannot approve this until we have your allocation amounts from HUD. So that's a kind of a tentative and anticipated date. And that may slip a little bit depending on when we get the allocations. And then shortly following that time frame, probably in mid-June, some point we would submit to HUD when we're allowed to submit to HUD. Any other questions? Any other questions for us?
No, it's just a lot in the air on what we're going to receive and what we can actually do to help. So
That's correct.
I like to see the Meals on Wheels added to some of the funding sources that we can help with, because I do know that we have a lot of seniors who depend and people who need those meals, or else they wouldn't have a meal. So
We deliver those, and it's a great program. Really is.
Is it possible to get a copy of your presentation, a printed copy?
Yes, absolutely. You mean the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can send it to you. Do you have a copy?
I'll send it, I don't have a copy
Okay.
of that.
Okay, we'll have, I'll
I'll
have Kate
send
send
it
it to you.
Okay, good.
A question again about the folks who are entitled to 3 months free living and then they disappear. Is there a counseling initiative with
They
those
do,
people
yeah,
to
they
help
do.
them?
They do
Such a
counseling.
sad road. Isn't it?
Yeah, they provide wraparound supportive services based on their needs to keep them housed. The idea is to keep them housed with the
You would
services.
hope they're not playing the system. That's bad part.
The intake assessment on that has a lot of details. It's called a SPDAT.
Yep.
And then they go through this and they try to make sure that they address like the specific needs at Erie County Care Management before the referral, and then they get the wraparound services. There's a bunch of layers to it that make it really one of the most successful programs that HUD's implemented in a long time.
Absolutely.
And just an FYI, on some of the proposed projects, some of the numbers may change slightly. If they do, I will definitely send you an updated copy.
When the providers who are requesting funds submit, do they have goals that they like, this is like, these are our benchmarks that we would like to reach, and then at the end, do they provide you a report with how they reach those benchmarks? Are those available for us to see? Like, I'm just
So
curious.
there are direct benefit records that service providers receive that they have to complete every month. And so it's unduplicated. That shows like the number of people that they
Like new,
serve and
yeah.
stuff. And so we get those on a monthly basis. So if you, I'm not sure which ones you want to.
I'm just curious to see like how we're assessing, making sure the programs are doing all the things that they're promising that they're doing. I love data. That's really, I just been curious to see just how they're doing.
Do you have those? Or, I mean, Tina?
Tina would have those, yeah.
We'll-
you.
We'll get you a copy.
Thank you.
Do you have anyone that dropped by these programs to see if in fact that the numbers they are submitting is actual?
So actually, staff goes out and they monitor, and so when they monitor, they look at the DBRs, which is the direct benefit record, and so they review those to see if that agency is meeting their goal or if they're behind their goal, and so just all of that's assessed.
Yeah, we also look at client files. We'll take a random sample of client files, review those, make sure that we're maintaining the required data that, to be in compliance with the program. So, yeah, we try to monitor each subrecipient once a year.
And HUD requires you to submit your CAPER report, which so every year you're reporting on the number of persons
Yeah,
assisted by
exactly.
program type. So all that gets rolled into a report annually to HUD. I think it's due September, yours is due September 30th. So,
Footnote to Meals on Wheels, one of our former city employees, Ms.
Yeah.
Hoffman, is taking it over.
she was at a lot of the stakeholder meetings.
Great job.
Yeah.
We got 'em all, we train them and put them on their real world.
Are there any new stipulations coming down with this money will be tied to X, Y, or Z now? Like anything new that you guys
We
have?
don't know.
yet?
We don't know. We've not had any indication from HUD.
I mean, I can't fathom what more they could add stipulation-wise, but
Right.
I suspect there will be.
Any further questions? If not, I thank everyone for giving up your dinner time to eat this information.
Not a problem.
Okay, appreciate it. Keep us updated,
We will.
you know, with any changes that come down, and we'll go from there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all for your
Thank
time
you.
tonight.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.